8 years after Haiyan, the streets of the Philippines were bustling with activity. Most buildings and roads had already been repaired, and although the Philippines was hit by 8 typhoons in 2021, there was no significant damage. The predominantly Christian country of the Philippines was living in peace. Awaiting the jolly festival of Christmas, everything was going to be great. On December 11, a tropical depression began to form. Sustaining wind speeds of 55 kilometers an hour, it just seemed like another typical tropical cyclone. 2 days later, it slowly transformed into a tropical storm, prompting the Japan Meteorological Agency to name it Rai. However, since it was slow to develop, no one thought anything of it. By December 14th, the tropical storm had intensified into a severe tropical storm and continued to move across the island nation of Palau before entering the Philippine area of responsibility by 7 p.m. Continuing on its path near the Philippine Islands, Rai became known as Odette in the Philippines as it gradually transitioned into a typhoon 1 day before landfall. However, something unexpected is going to happen. Within 1 day, Typhoon Rai escalated from a Category 2 typhoon with wind speeds of 120 km an hour to a Category 5 Super Typhoon with a top speed of 280 km an hour. At 1:30 p.m., Typhoon Rai made landfall. It devastated the entire country of the Philippines, although it dropped to a Category 4 at 7 p.m. As it left the western Philippine coast and entered the South China Sea, Typhoon Rai weakened to a Category 3 typhoon. But that was not the end of Rai. Once again, Typhoon Rai quickly strengthened into a Category 5 Super Typhoon as it began to curve north towards China on December 18. Fortunately, Rai then weakened and finally dissipated off the coast of Guangdong, China on December 20. Like Haiyan, Rai had the worst impact on the Philippines as it maintained a Category 4 to 5 status when it made landfall. This was mainly because Christmas Day was approaching, and people were more busy preparing Christmas decorations than preparing for the typhoon, but they are not to be blamed. Typhoon Rai did not pose a threat from its formation until the day of landfall. No one was prepared for the sudden strengthening of Typhoon Rai, and in the end, 410 people died and 80 people are still missing. 630,000 people were displaced and 130,000 homes were damaged, forcing people to take shelter in evacuation centers where another issue arose. The COVID-19 situation in the Philippines had calmed down after a horrific wave, where the record for the daily cases at the time was reached. However, because Typhoon Rai came at such short notice, evacuation centers could not provide masks to stop the spread of COVID-19. As a result, 2 weeks after Rai hit the Philippines, another COVID wave hit, where the Philippines averaged 30,000 cases per day, skyrocketing the active cases from 10,000 people to 300,000. In addition to this, 16% of the Philippines' municipalities experienced power outages and water supply systems were in ruin, spreading disease as people had to drink dirty water. Roads, ports, houses, markets, and so much more were destroyed, and despite killing way less people than Haiyan, it cost $1.20 billion in damage. Typhoon Rai also had significant impacts on Vietnam, in particular the Spratly Islands and the Paracel Islands, as Rai regained Category 5 status around those islands in the South China Sea. On one of the islands, 90% of the trees were destroyed, and hundreds of square meters of farmland were destroyed, although there were no casualties reported. Similar to Typhoon Haiyan, social media exploded, concerned about the Philippines. However, because communication lines were destroyed and internet services gone, news coverage of the typhoon was less than expected, contributing to the lack of international aid sent by foreign countries. Despite this, many countries still supported the Philippines, especially South Korea and the European Union, donating around $2 million each, and China sending 5 million kilograms of rice to affected areas. 2,841 evacuation centers were also utilized, but food aid promised by the Filipino government took a long time to arrive, and even so, the food could not feed everyone affected. Many political figures and news organizations said that Rai was an exact repeat of Haiyan, affecting a similar number of 13 million people, and similar events took place, like the Philippine government's slow response and many first responders being killed. Some could argue that Rai was actually more destructive than Haiyan because of the after effects of the typhoon, mainly the Omicron wave directly after Rai. In the end, Typhoon Rai became the second most costliest typhoon in the Philippines' history, and we could only pray that another typhoon does not occur again.